All right, good evening and welcome everybody to the Village of Weberville Council meeting. Today is August 24th, 2026. We'll get started here with a roll call.
Hewitt absent, Schulberg. Here. Stanfield. Here. Walter. Here. Schulberg.
Here. We have one. Everybody please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there approval for the agenda this evening?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, brings us to our first round of public comments. Are there any comments from the public this evening? Seeing none? So I have no comments myself other than welcome to the Ford building. Consent agenda, minutes from the council meeting August 11th, accounts payable, revenue expenditure report, balance sheet, any questions from the council on those items? If not, is there approval for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Seconded, roll call.
Schulberg. Yes. Stanfield. Yes. Walter. Yes. Schulberg.
Yes. Right, moving right along into reports. First up this meeting is attorney reports. Scott?
All right, I believe that the only real business I have to report since last meeting that it sounds like we may be getting close to some kind of settlement with White Rose. This is the old Carter Lumber building, and I know that it is for the new business item number 7, so I can just address that matter when that comes up appropriate on the agenda. Outside of that, pretty status quo.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. Engineer report, Bruce.
Don't have any particular engineer report this evening.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions or. Sorry.
Seeing none. Thank you, Bruce. Any advocate reports? All right. Brings us to new business rather quickly. First item is noxious weeds. So last week this topic was introduced. I forget the specific address, but this relates to code violation. Jake was looking for some guidance as to whether or not the council wants to proceed with enforcement. Is that correct, Jake?
That's correct.
Do you have anything to add other than that?
So at the last meeting, we had discussed a few different subject properties in violation, one of which has eradicated the issue, come into compliance. Still outstanding is a property at 301 North Main. And at the last meeting, the council indicated that they were going to take a look at the subject parcel and come back with some feedback on how to proceed. Additionally, do still have, that's off topic, so we're not worried about that right now.
The property far west on Grand River towards 52, they came into compliance?
Yes.
Okay, I saw that they were working on it, but we're good now. Okay. So, has everybody else had a chance to look at?
And there was one on Walnut Street, I didn't see any problem with Main Street other than the two of them are deep.
So, you think
The
that's
sidewalk,
considered ornamental?
I found that and I was riding by in the truck, so maybe I missed the correct address. But the addresses that I looked at did not seem bad. Other addresses around these areas needed Crestmont.
Gotcha.
So again, without physically walking the addresses, I guess would be, I mean, are you planning on having council do this now? I mean.
Well, I think there was, last meeting, there was some discussion about, there was some subjectivity to whether or not it was, you know, noxious weeds or ornamental grass as the resident was claiming. So the request was for the council to look at those and make their own determinations
Right.
on that. So based on what you're saying, it sounds like you think this would fall under ornamental grass and not.
That's a fine line right there. I mean, some people say yes, other people say no. I know the gal out there, but 52, I watched her mow that. She was out there on her lawn tractor mowing that. We're like, yes, okay, great. The ones up on Hardy, I don't know what you're gonna do about that guy that's got the shirt of giving him a junkyard status. I don't know what we can do about that.
Yeah, that's a different one, but I guess, what does this side think?
Well, I happen to know about the one that you're talking about on Main, and that it can get in pretty rough shape.
Yep.
I don't think it's fair to other neighbors to let it go to that extent. I don't think that's ornamental. I really don't.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably what this really comes down to is does the village view it as ornamental or noxious weed? I mean, there's certainly an argument to be had if ornamental vegetation gets to the point where it's unkept. I don't think that we can necessarily enforce upon that just because it's in an unkept state.
And that's right there is like, what do we do?
Right.
Because yes, it's ornamental, but it's just not being taken care of.
Yeah.
Then it's overgrown.
It's a hard one to enforce. It really is, because let's say it's not ornamental and it is unkept. We don't know if there's a medical condition that's going on or anything like that.
Well, it doesn't exempt them from.
No, it doesn't, but I'm just saying, we don't know, but it is very hard
For sure.
to also enforce. It's very difficult.
I think what we do right now is, Jess just sends a letter if we know that, you know,
Well,
like.
we've already sent
Rest.
notification, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't wanna call it a dispute, but now it's the back and forth of, they claim it's ornamental. Jake needs the guidance from this board as to whether or not we agree with the homeowner that it's ornamental, or the complainant that it's not.
This is complaint based as well.
Yeah.
I was at the 124 Main,
No, it's the 300 block of North Main.
North Main.
I'll throw my opinion out there. I've seen it. I know that this has become an issue before, so I'm familiar with it and what it looks like. Personally, I think it's ornamental. It's not probably the most well kept, but I think it's hard to call it noxious.
It kind of goes into that one person's way of cleaning versus a different person's way of cleaning. Two people are not the same,
Correct.
and that's why I say it is hard to enforce. I can say something is not clean and another person says that is clean, so it is hard to enforce, just like you're saying. To them, that is ornamental, where we may think it's not.
Well, generally speaking, my understanding of the spirit of calling something noxious is something that is rapid growing, invasive, and could potentially spread to a neighbor's yard. A dandelion, stinging nettle, those things tend to grow rather quickly, present maybe unfavorable odors. That type of grass, I'm not an arborist, but I don't see that being a potential problem. It's just unsightly, which I'm sure there's some people that think tulips are unsightly. You know, it's very subjective and opinion based,
It's
but
like somebody might consider vines growing up a home unkept, where if you know how that home has been, it's just the way the vines grow.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying, it is very hard.
That would be morning glories.
Yes.
Whoever came out with that. Yeah.
So it is going to be very hard to enforce.
So, I think it's ornamental.
It's,
Unkept ornament, so
Yeah.
ornament.
that's why, so we can agree to disagree.
I'll take another run up there. I'm going right tomorrow.
So, Jake, do you need an official, or would you like an official vote from us, or is
No.
the general consensus that it's ornamental acceptable for you at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess any other discussion, we can talk about grass and weeds and all that, but. Okay, similar to ordinance enforcement, item number 2, resolution 2026-16, this is for 4892 Party Road sidewalk repair, so again, based on last meeting's discussion, it seemed to be the conclusion from the council that we wanted to recognize that that sidewalk is in fact being repaired. For our ordinance, we need to do that via resolution. So I would recommend that we approve resolution 2026-16, recognizing that the sidewalk adjacent to 4892 Party Road requires repair.
So,
Second.
Roll call.
Yes. Campbell.
yes,
Walter.
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes.
I do have a question about that
Yeah.
now. Is the homeowner, able to come up with 50% of the cost of that? I mean, if they have to make payments, would we gladly accept that?
Generally, that would be then added to their tax roll, wouldn't it? Unless they wanted to pay cash or whatever.
You guys make a deal with them or somehow work something out with them, you can work with them, how to put it on their taxes.
Right,
But if they don't pay them, they can't.
right.
But they have to make an honest effort to make the
Yeah,
payments.
and if they don't, we can add it to their tax roll. But there was also some discussion since the meeting that it sounds like they're gonna make some efforts to remove the tree and fix it themselves
You get
by
calls
this fall.
that, this fall, he was gonna get the tree out, and then he was gonna replace the sidewalk probably this spring.
Right. So, I think
Because those trees are really, really expensive to bring.
they are. Which,
That's big tree.
I mean, I would say,
They start at 10,000.
you know, the resolution is passed, which is fair, I think, you know, for the council to recognize that it needs to be repaired, however that gets done by whomever, could be decided in the future. But I think if this homeowner is reaching out saying that they're gonna take care of it, we should at least give them one solid attempt before taking further measures for enforcement. You know, we'll see if the tree comes down this fall or not, and we can go from there. Is that fair, Jake?
Yeah, but, I think that's fair and appropriate.
Next item of new business is engine brake ordinance. So this was brought to our attention last meeting, concerns about engine brake noise in the village. We currently do not have an ordinance pertaining to such. As is always the case, enforcement will be a challenge, but this will at least enable us to put up signage on all the entrances into the village. Hopefully, people will abide by it. So, I believe Scott helped us with this one. Yeah, so, I hope everybody has had a chance to read through this ordinance. We need to have a public hearing before adopting, correct?
Alright, so it's scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is really just for your consideration tonight.
Yeah.
What is it?
We have to do the second, week of September.
Guys, yeah, the 8th is gonna be too close. on updates.
It looks like it's scheduled for September 28th.
Excuse me, what?
September 28th.
So, I would say, let's, read this, and we'll come back, and I would recommend that we set the public hearing for, adopting engine brake ordinance for September 28th meeting.
So moved.
Second,
We'll do a roll call.
Schulberg,
yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Yes. Right, next is the 2026 DDA plan amendment ordinance. So, Josh, can you brief the council on this one?
You guys approved the plan and by statute, after you approve the plan, then it creates an ordinance based off that plan.
Okay.
It's just a procedure.
We'll need to do a public hearing for that then as well, right?
I don't think so. That was part of that.
You know it's an ordinance?
is there an event public hearing?
Yeah, the plan.
No, then I would recommend that we approve the ordinance number 2026-01, ordinance to adopt and approve amendment to the Village of Weberville DDA Authorities Development Plan pursuant to the Provisions Act 57 as presented.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Schulberg,
yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter,
No.
Schultz.
Yes. Okay, next item of new business is a discussion about the police contract. So, as many of you are aware, we have been contracted with Union County Sheriff's Office for, gosh, at least 10, 15 years now, longer than I've been around. With Union County Sheriff for policing services. Currently, by contract, we receive 80 hours of community policing from 2 deputies that they assigned to us. We entered a contract 3 years ago establishing rates. That was a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year option to renew. Village exercised that 3rd-year renewal option last year. So our current contract is set to expire December 31st of this year. So the Sheriff's Office has reached out. And I had a discussion with them regarding what a contract would look like with them moving forward. So it was loose leafed, because I got those literally this afternoon. It's loose leafed in the packet. And this outlines what 2027 through 2029's pricing would look like. So 2027, meaning this upcoming year, would be an 8% increase from 2026 rates, bringing that 1-year contract to $408,881. Then there would be an 8% increase for 2028 and another 8% increase for 2029. So that's $441,992 in 2028 and $476,920 in 2029. So that is a substantial part of our general fund budget. And I know that we've talked about ways to help mitigate some of these costs. So one of the things that I have done is over the past few years, I've stayed in close contact with Mayor Gilroy in Williamston, as well as Chief Weiss of the Williamston Police Department, to see if they can perhaps aid or offer some sort of contract with us. And at this point, they're not willing to, or they're not able to, but they've expressed that they'd like to be a good community partner in helping us establish our own police department, if that's something we would like to do. So with their assistance, as well as assistance from Jake and his experience being a city manager, put together some numbers of what those costs would look like. So that is in your packet for review and consideration. And obviously there would be some costs incurred for the first year, which are one-time or long-term investments such as vehicles and equipment. and there's an annual cost or your operational cost. So what I tried to do is compile the numbers that Chief Weiss was able to share with me, reflecting what Williamston is paying for these types of equipment and services. I used that as an average, and then tried to come up with a min and max, assuming that some things may be more expensive, or we may want to option for more or less expensive options. So first year costs, if we were to exercise what I would consider to be a maximized budget, meaning very healthy pay rates, brand new vehicles, high-end equipment, that first year cost would be roughly $370,000. With an ongoing annual operating cost of $250,000. I think probably somewhere more in the middle. First year cost would be closer to like $270,000, with annual operating costs thereafter of roughly $200,000 to $225,000. Obviously, these are very, very rough projections, and this council, and if there were to be a force created, we need to determine what's appropriate and what's needed. But to put some perspective around similar communities, neighboring communities, and what their costs are to operate their own departments. The city of Lanesburg, they have 2 staff, one and a half to 2 staff. Their operating budget is $200,000. Carson City has 6 to 7 officers with an operating cost of $386,000. Lakeview has 3.5 deputies for a total of $215,000. Perry, just to the north of us, they have 4 officers for $400,000 a year. Fowlerville, they're a bit of an outlier, but neighboring community, they pay $1.1 million, but they have 12 officers. So that's just to put some perspective around the fact that the 2 officers and the 80 hours a week that we're receiving today at a cost of in excess of $400,000 is way outside fair market value. So this is a lot of information. It's not a small decision by any means, but to go down this route of creating our own police department would present a substantial cost savings to the taxpayers, potentially to the tune of $200,000 a year, which can go a very long way towards infrastructure projects, water mains, roads. It's likely that with these types of savings, we could do one major infrastructure project a year on our own instead of more deferred payments. So, that said, if the board is so inclined to pursue this option of creating our own force, time is of the essence. Our current contract expires at the end of the year. That does not mean we would go without if we're not contracted with Ingham County. The residents of this village already pay that through their taxes. We would just be relying on out county as needed. So to be clear, the village would not go without police coverage at all. It would just be different than having specific deputies assigned to us until we were established, which again, Williamson has been very gracious in their offer to, as they kind of put it, hold our hand every step of the way to help with talent search, recommendations, making sure that we can get up on our feet successfully.
How would that work with the schools, and the kids?
Well, at that rate, if it's a police department that is solely controlled by the village, we can direct those deputies to perform certain duties or spend certain time doing certain activities as we see fit. Ultimately, would probably ought to be a board discussion in terms of how many of our resources are extended that direction. there's certainly the possibility of having those discussions with the school. There's lots of grants out there available that I don't know what the school has pursued, but if there's an appetite there for them to help us bolster our resources so that we, can share more with them, it's another avenue to explore. I know one of the, I think, probably biggest pain points or unknowns that's been talked about throughout the years is, I think there was this idea that to do this, it would be prohibitively expensive. That, things like liability insurance were exorbitant costs, and reaching out to MML, who provides our insurance bond, based on a department of 2 full-time officers with the payrolls I've laid out here, the annual liability insurance would only be $7,500. Which is frankly far less than I expected. Don't tell them I said that.
And my 2 cents is that honestly, looking at this, this is definitely the healthier choice for our village. Might not be as easy to get it set up, but in the long run, I think that this will probably be an investment.
I would agree with that.
Saving money for the village is extremely important. When I look at the cost from 27, 28, and 29, that's a lot.
1.3.
And while I appreciate everything that the officers are doing for us, I do, it's not their fault at all. So this is not directed at them. But as taxpayers, we are already paying money.
Correct.
So it's like we are double paying.
Which, I should have said that. Deputy Wagner, it's nothing personal.
Yeah, it's not. That's why I said
Work
this.
for us.
Yeah, that's why I said this is not directed at you.
Actually, Sandra, that's interesting you say that. For your information, if you weren't aware, it's in the contract that we have today that states if we're to abandon the contract in favor of creating our own force, that it's requested we give the opportunity to the deputies assigned
That are
village to apply. So, moving on. Yeah, like I said, it's a huge decision. I know Mike's not here tonight. My opinion is, I think it's at least worth pursuing the next steps to see what that looks like. We have, frankly, another 3 months till we really have to make a hard decision to review a contract and to start a new one with England County. But based on what I'm hearing is I should look to some of our resources like Jake and Scott to figure out what next steps would be in terms of, what a resolution would look like, bring that to council. So again, this was just a discussion. I wanted to get it out to the board, also to the community to hear what we're discussing and the potential impacts and cost savings associated with it. So unless there's any other discussion, we can move on. But I would say study it. Next meeting, we can have this on the agenda again as a discussion. And if we have, resolutions, drafted to look at or even adopt, if that's what we want to do as a board, then we can do that next meeting. I appreciate the conversation and comments. So that brings us to next item of new business, which is the Garden Club special event permit for their bake sale. This is an annual bake sale event that the Garden Club does every year. So this will be at the Blue Star Memorial Garden on Saturday, September 26th. starts at 10 a.m., goes till 3. It's an annual fundraiser for the Garden Club. No facilities needed, no barricades, no restrooms, no serving of food. So I think it's pretty straightforward. I'd recommend the council that we approve special event permit for the Garden Club bake sale.
So moved.
Second.
No money spent, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Last item of new business is White Rose. So I'll brief the council real quick, which is, I believe, last week. Scott made me aware that there were some discussions with Jay and his legal representation that they would like to try to reach some sort of settlement or agreement. I believe the number that was shared with me was $15,000 in settlement and recognition of some building code items as it pertains to the site there. So in talking with Chris, McKenna's recommendation on this is that before agreeing to those terms, that the site is inspected to make sure that it's accurate and up to code. Scott, I'll look at you to maybe steer this a little bit.
No, I mean, that's pretty much the crux of it. Mr. Rippon, through White Rose, is offering $15,000 to resolve this. Mr. Rippon's also asking that the Cater Engineering drawings and plans that once were in play be acknowledged by the village. Let's see, buildings 2, 3, and 4 for storage, S1, furnace and heating, existing 2012 Michigan Mechanical Code, electrical system existing meets the 2011 NEC code. But essentially, Mr. Rippon's come to the table, like, this has been a huge expense, I would venture to believe for both parties. And a quick reminder again, we are at a point where we've gone from district court civil infraction to the circuit court county appeal. Now we're on to the Michigan Court of Appeals. And although the village has prevailed at the first 2 steps, and I do believe we're in a good position even for the Court of Appeals, it's still a matter that there's a risk to it. And not only is there a legal risk, the courts can find something that the other courts cannot see. Again, I would venture to say that we're in a good position that that won't happen. However, I think this is a fair assessment from my time working with the village, is that I've always taken that Weber bill as pro-business. There needs to be rules, but pro-business. And so even if we find a way to resolve this outside of the courts, we could end some of these questions, finalize this matter, and move on. And the village will be able to recover some costs, maybe not every single penny, but we could be, I'd have to look at the final numbers of where we stand as a village, but probably we're at about 50 cents to the dollar. But I'm guessing the expenditure by the village versus what's being offered here. Got a print off of the actual correspondence from the attorney representing White Rose that I can pass along to anyone here that wants to take a closer look. And what I recommend is if the village is so inclined to even move forward or even talk about this matter, that, especially if there's going to be a counter offer, that we do so in closed session. Because we're still in a position where there's litigation, there's money involved, and effectively we've got to be able to have dialogue, open and clear, before we enter into any kind of final settlement agreement. So, I guess that's my 2 cents, unless anyone has any questions for me.
I don't, but I'd like to address the fact that Mr. Rittman is in the room this evening. And I would invite you to speak on the matter, if you'd like. I mean, to Scott's point, for us to deliberate, we'll probably do that in a closed session, but nevertheless, want to be respectful of the fact that you took the time to be here. If there's anything that you'd like us to be aware of or add to in addition to what's been said, you're more than welcome.
Yeah. My wife and I want to move forward. We understand the cost both sides. I didn't realize back then, as we had talked, it started out as a $200 fine. My attorney never told me that. So in 2017, we did go to court. The current board wasn't involved, the attorney wasn't involved. At that time, 2017, they figured it might be half the village didn't show up. But 2020, you did show up and in your favor. But to be honest with you, our goal is to, work with the community, get going. We have a tremendous amount of business that we're doing in other areas, other sites that we could do here. Our goal originally was to bring our other divisions into Weberville. Right now, we're not, and it's harder for us to manage because we have facilities in Indiana, Ohio, Mass, Lansing. It's tough. And the great thing is we're growing. You know what I mean? So at one time though, we had 15 people here building the silos at Bedford Boligo were built here. So that could be, we could do that again. The employees that we get built the silos are people that live here, the Beavers, et cetera. So I think my wife and I made a mistake. We apologize, but we would like to work together and grow. We can make that a lot better. We work with Rick, with Little Dusties and all that. We actually do a lot of the same thing that Rick does. We're trying to enhance his business now. And so, but we need, like I said, we need to be able to move forward. So that's why we're here trying to negotiate to move forward and see if we can get it solved.
Appreciate you saying that, Jay. I guess questions or comments from the council, but it's their thought to go into a closed session to deliberate.
I appreciate you saying that also, thank you, it does mean a lot. I think we should go into closed session.
That being said, I recommend that we go into a closed session at 6:38. Discuss the matter again.
So,
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. All opposed? Does that need to be a roll call, Scott?
I prefer roll call.
Let's do a roll call. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's okay.
Shelburne? Yes. Stanfield?
yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Holden?
Yes. Okay, we will end the live stream. Folks are more than welcome to stick around outside for when we come back into open session.